So Bitcoin has risen roughly 30% since Silicon Valley Bank collapsed. Some think it's because of a short squeeze. Others think it's just regular volatility. But the most widely accepted theory is that people are flooding to Bitcoin in anticipation of this larger economic collapse. And there's one prominent figure whose actions support this notion. So this guy, Balaji Srinivasan, a former Coinbase executive and crypto enthusiast, he believes the US is about to enter a period of, quote, hyperinflation. And he's putting his money where his mouth is. Last week, he made headlines after betting $1 million that in the next 90 days, the price of Bitcoin would hit $1 million. Why? Because in his view, the central banking system is on the brink of collapse and the dollar is about to be worth zero. So Balaji has since gone on several podcasts laying out his concerns, and he's published many Twitter threads for his 900,000 followers. Scott, what is your take on this?
You know more about this than I do. The only thing just to go back to our last conversation, what's really interesting is post this crisis, and hopefully we're post-crisis, Americans actually seem to have greater trust in banks. As of March 7th, or as of March, 7 in 10 Americans say they trusted U.S. banks compared to 66% in February. So it looks like our trust in the banking system in a weird way is, if it makes it through the stress test, might actually go up, because I think Americans are coming to the realization that see above, when shit gets real, their deposits are still safe. With respect to Bitcoin, I mean, Bitcoin's having its moment, right? It was supposed to be inflation that was going to take it up, or conflict. None of those things really accelerated it. A lack of faith or fear and risk in the banking system, what people think is an attack on fiat currency, that the printing of money here is what really accelerated this decline. It's sort of the perfect storm of good things for Bitcoin, which has seen just a massive uptick. And we have very intelligent, articulate individuals who have a huge vested interest in Bitcoin, have kind of gone all in on it, who have huge followings on social media and are talking up the crisis, if you will, and talking up Bitcoin. I would love to get your viewpoint here, because I occasionally follow Balaji, and I find I like his viewpoint. I just find it interesting. I don't agree with a lot of it, but he's definitely a very bright guy. I'm just curious what your take on all of this is.
Well, I've been researching what his history is, and he basically he came into public view in 2013 when he gave this talk at Y Combinator. And I encourage anyone who is a Balaji fan to go back and watch that video, because it sort of gives insight into what his whole thesis is. And basically what he said, the talk was titled Silicon Valley's Ultimate Exit. And his belief is that the US is in structural decline and we're about to see an economic collapse. And mind you, that's in 2013 that he's saying this. And he suggested that we start what he sort of calls a network state, which is basically a techno-utopia where all of the technologically literate and elite people in Silicon Valley can gather their resources and basically start their own country and basically bail on America, because he believes that the government regulation gets in the way of things, that America is too slow, it's brittle, it's in structural decline. And so he wants out. And one of the vehicles to do that is Bitcoin, because you're not subject to the central banking system. Now, the thing that I find really troubling about this is, just as you said the other day that, recession's been a week away for the past 18 months. In the case of Balaji, doomsday has been 90 days away for the past 10 years. And whether or not, you think he's right, you have to acknowledge the fact that this is a guy who has been investing for the past decade in doomsday occurring. And if it doesn't come true, he's one, going to be wrong and he's going to look very stupid. And two, his net worth is going to plummet because he's put all of his money in Bitcoin, which he's basically told us is a bet on wider structural collapse in America. So it's in his best interest that America fails. He actually wants it to fail. And his vision, his whole dream is that he could start a new country that is just completely separate from America. So I think that that is sort of the dark side of this. But, you know, from the audience's perspective, maybe they think, well, I'd rather be safe on this. I'd rather just believe what he says, because what if he's right? But I think it's very dark, and I think it's actually really destructive.
Well, there's a tactical point here and a larger point around communications and citizenship and what it means to be an American. And the first thing is, in terms of communications, this guy pulled off the ultimate PR stunt. My understanding is he bet $1 million that hyperinflation would happen in the next 90 days. Mm-hmm. And that's like a big ballsy bet, because it's not. And for him to put his money where his mouth is and bet $1 million that we're going to hyperinflation in just 90 days or less, and of course someone took the bet, everyone has heard about this bet, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, here's this smart guy who is so confident that he's willing to lose $1 million of his own money based on what he thinks is the probability of hyperinflation. So even if it doesn't happen, even if just we see some of it, or it creates more panic, more contagion, more thinking, well, maybe I should put 10, 15, 20% of my assets in crypto. Let's assume that he's done really well. He's, I believe, one of the founding CTO of Coinbase. I don't know what his wealth is, but I imagine he has real wealth. By the way, Coinbase, I think, is about to go under SEC investigation. Let's assume he owns 1,000 coins or $27 million worth of Bitcoin. If he can get the price to go up 3 or 4%, even if he loses $1 million, by creating this signal of panic by his bet, then he wins. He can lose his bet and still win, because his holdings, he's done the math. I think this is an incredibly savvy PR move. Yep. Because even if it's just a little bit of inflation, even if it just creates a little bit more insecurity, that's going to take Bitcoin up by more than, call it 3 or 4%, and he will be a net winner here. The broader issue is the following, and that is when Jim Chanos, a famous short seller, takes a short position against Tesla and then starts shitposting Tesla and retweeting my tweets when I say Tesla's overvalued. When Bill Ackman says the arrests are coming at Herbalife, saying it was an illegal pyramid scheme, which was totally hyperbolic. The arrest did not come because he's shitposting Herbalife, trying to talk the stock down. That's one thing. It's an entirely different level when you have an economic vested interest in that results in you constantly shitposting America. And I don't know what to do about it. They're protected by the First Amendment. I think they are fairly transparent around their interests and their financial interests. They have a right to do this. But you just think, okay, there is this really dangerous emerging cohort of nihilists, and I think we're talking about this in No Mercy, No Malice, what you guys call quitters. And that is, they've sort of given up on America and this planet. They talk about the need to colonize another planet. They want to take us to another universe, even if it's legless. They want to start a new economy, a new banking system. And it's like, it's just sort of very, quite frankly, discouraging and a little bit even depressing, this nihilist view that some of the most talented, well-resourced people in the world have said, I'm giving up on America as it is. I'm done. I quit. And I want to take us to another universe, or I'm going to bet on my bunker. Something like 45% of people between the ages of 25 and 54 have made some sort of preparations for a doomsday. And part of that is they look at these incredibly talented, smart people who basically said, I'm done investing in America. I've given up on America. I'm quitting. I'm making a big bet on the decline of America. And it's just very, for lack of a better term, it's really upsetting.
Yeah, and it also seems so basically ignorant and narcissistic to think that after all this time, after everything that America has built, honestly, after the past several thousand years of society learning about how to create a democracy, how to create a financial system, to have the confidence in yourself to believe, nah, they got it all wrong, I can probably do it better, is just wildly misinformed to me. Bitcoin, you have to give it credit. It is a really incredible technological innovation. But then to extrapolate that to we're probably better off doing everything on our own. Let's tear the whole thing down. Let's scrap all of our regulatory institutions, everything that we've learned about how to run a gigantic country and democracy. We can probably just do it ourselves and then just get an island in Vanuatu and just start our own Bitcoin paradise. It's just, to me, it's just completely ignores everything that we've worked on up to this point.
So Woody Allen's best film is Hannah and Her Sisters, and I know we're supposed to hate everything that Woody Allen's done, but it's a fantastic film, and he made several good movies. And a decent one was Broadway Danny Rose, about an agent. And this kind of tier 3 off-Broadway agent has this guy who's a crooner, kind of a Frank Sinatra type. And Woody Allen is there for him, showing up at all the shows. I mean, really sticking through all the bad times with this guy. And then the guy hits and becomes famous. And the moment he shows any chance of fame, he drops Woody Allen as his agent, right? This is the mother of all. This is the mother of all dropping Woody Allen, because take any of these individuals. I don't care if you're Elon Musk. You know, I don't care if you're this guy Balaji. Take any of these individuals that shitpost America and are investing in the decline of American civilization, and realistically say, what would be their influence? What would be the size of their jet? Would they be the wealthiest people in the world? Would they have the freedoms they enjoy here to shitpost America? Would they have the ability to build these companies? Would they have the ability to build these unbelievable organizations and platform of influence? What is the one thing that distinguishes them? What is the one input that has taken them from what would probably be remarkable entrepreneurs in any country, but has turned them into icons of massive influence and massive power? That one thing is America. Yeah. And they drop it the moment they hit kind of light speed. It's just, at the end of the day, they're not acquitting themselves of what I'd call a lot of character or patriotism. If you're unfairly jailed in the United States, and there have been a lot of people who've been unfairly jailed, if you grow up and you can't get health insurance and you're kind of doomed from day one because of where you're born or who you are, I can get you wanting to foment a revolution. I get it. You have the rights to be. These guys have no right to be angry. They have no right to be these catastrophists. They've literally said, okay, I'm going to, quite frankly, just be incredibly ungrateful. They're not saving us. Do they think that Americans are going to be better? They're basically saying the world is ending. For those of you who want to get on my ark, and you know, I have a limited number of tickets, I'll sell them to the highest bidder, and a few lucky few get to escape the floods. Yeah. But they're not trying to figure out irrigation systems such that we can all survive. So I find it all just sort of unseemly and disappointing. And I think it all comes back to, well, why are people so receptive to this? And for me, it comes back to this central notion that a 30-year-old man or woman isn't doing as well as his or her parents were at 30 for the first time in American history. So people are very disillusioned, and they're receptive to these arguments of let's quit America. And not only can we quit America because America isn't working for us, we can make money while we're quitting. But let's look at the data around just how bad America is doing. You know, our inflation is 6%. That's bad. And Canada's is 5%, and Japan's is 4%. It's lower. In France, it's 7%. In Germany, it's 9%. In the UK, it's 10%. Mm-hmm. Our GDP growth is only 2%. But everyone else is somewhere between 1% and 4%. And our unemployment rate is towards the low end. So on a balanced scorecard of how we're doing, much less, let's just ignore that we have the best vaccines. Let's ignore that we're able to fund the valorous Ukrainian army to kick back on an autocrat without putting a single boot on the ground. I mean, let's ignore that we're food and energy independent, right? No one has us by the short ones. We are masters of our own domain. I mean, we are doing so well on every single dimension. So this nihilist view of the United States, it's just not accurate. The data doesn't support it.